Hi, I'm Fox.
And I'm Zoe.
And today we were going to review Django Unchained, but you know what? We did you one better. So welcome to Did You One Better. This is a podcast where me and my beautiful girlfriend basically talk about movies and how we would personally remake them. Usually making them much more queer.
It's a theme.
Funny that.
Yeah.
So Django Unchained is a movie by Quentin Tarantino, famous for his very violent and offbeat movies.
And quite possibly the most famous foot fetishist of all of history.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of foot fetish, at least in the cinematic world, you think of Quentin Tarantino.
And every single time I think of Quentin Tarantino, I think of foot fetish.
Yeah, like you say that, and like so many different scenes popped into my mind.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, Django Unchained is a movie about a bounty hunter who buys a slave and then goes on gory, wacky killing slave owner adventures.
Basically.
Yeah, and it involves a lot of people getting shot, a lot of hard R-N words, and a lot of very, very bad brutality against black people. Which, you know...
That's the 1800s for you.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
It's I mean, I respect that they go that distance. I respect that they go that far for the kind of story it is. And then over the course of the movie, Django's ultimately on a mission to rescue his wife, Broomhilda, and you know, now that I think about it, this movie doesn't actually have that much plot in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's a story, but there's not much plot. It's, you know, it's literally just that. Like, he goes and he attempts to save his wife, and then he fails initially, and then he succeeds.
That's basically it. Like, there's not a lot to it.
There's just a lot of people getting shot. Some people getting torn apart by dogs. Some hand-to-hand combat to the death.
Yeah. Some eye gouging. That was brutal.
Yeah. Some very cathartic whipping of a slave owner.
Yeah, that did happen.
That was pretty good.
And an explosion. It's got to end with an explosion.
A very, very good explosion. So just like a clarification before we jump into this, neither of us are black. We're not going to be approaching it from that kind of lens. We're also, at least we haven't discussed, or we never discuss our remakes before we come in, but like, I don't think either of us are going to really change anything that is like connected to this being a black story and like this kind of, you know, this very, you know, cathartic anti-slave owner, like kind of violent, you know, revolt against slavery that this movie is. We're just gonna not touch any of that, and like a lot of our changes are gonna be in other fields. So
right, definitely.
Don't worry about that. It's just not. That's not us. That's not ours. We're not gonna touch any of that. So I mean, like, as we said, there's not really much of a plot. There are scenes that happen. Do we want to kind of go over the more notable scenes?
Yeah, we can touch on the more notable scenes.
So there's a great scene right near the beginning where Dr. King Schultz, a bounty hunter, has bought Django for the purpose of that Django can identify a particularly hard to find bounty. And they have stopped in a town. I think at this point they're still in Texas.
I think it's Texas, yeah.
And Dr. King Schultz allows Django to ride on a horse, which freaks out all the white people in the town. And they end up calling the sheriff over to kind of knock some sense into them. and chase him out of town. And there's a great scene where he just like King just like walks out, like they're kind of holed up in a bar while the sheriff comes to get him, and they chat for a little bit, and then the sheriff calls him out, and Dr. Schultz just like walks out of the bar and then just shoots the fucking sheriff in the face. Well, he shoots him in the gut first, and then walks around and then shoots him on the face while he's writhing on the ground. And it's such a great moment. I feel like it is good and important for us to like talk a little bit about a lot of these scenes, but honestly, like, there's so much visual spectacle, we can't really give a lot of these scenes justice. So, like,
this is true.
I'll describe a few more, but honestly, see the movie. Like in terms of like, if you're listening to this as like a recommendation, or like, oh, here's some like what we think about the movies, because that is something that we do a lot before we jump into remakes. It's a great movie. It's really fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll say this is one of Tarantino's better movies.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of foot in it. Like foot fetishy stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing, like, struck out to me.
That did stand out to me. There's not a lot of feet. But I think there was a lot of other creative voices in the project that really kept that from being the focus.
And that makes sense. A lot of people were like, hey, Quentin, can I call you Quentin? We're not going to do the feet.
Right, because also like Tarantino's white, and like this is a black story first and foremost, so like it just like his creative voice on the details doesn't really show up as much, because it's just not really his story that he's telling, is other people's story that he's telling.
There wasn't enough room for foot fetish.
Right.
I'm sure in the next one.
Well, I mean, this came out in 2012, and he's made movies since then. There's been plenty.
The Hollywood one, I'm sure there's plenty of foot in that.
Yeah, probably. Hateful Eight probably has a lot of feet shit in it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I haven't watched any of his newer stuff.
You just stared at me.
Did you have to say that while I was talking so we can't edit it out?
I'm sorry. It just came out. What do you mean cut it out? It's a good pun. It's not the best pun, but...
Oh my god. Anyways, there's a lot of great scenes with the main villain of this movie, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, Mr. Candy. Can't remember his first name.
I can't either. I'm terrible with names, but he plays a good piece of shit.
He's really, really good at it, and it is visceral. Like it is so like it goes beyond this is a villain. It's like he's a type of person that just you despise at your core. There's a lot of great scenes that there's Django and Broomhilda have only a couple of scenes together. They're really not together that much, but they do have some great chemistry. Like it's so good. Of course, Django and Dr. Schultz have amazing chemistry. They're the main core of the movie. And yeah, like the more I try to talk about this movie, the less there is to talk about. Like there's really not a lot going on. It's just a duo of bounty hunters going around killing slave owners. It's really what it is.
Good times.
Yeah, it's good times.
I really like this scene, more towards the beginning, the first half of the movie, with Big Daddy, and he's, getting this posse together of, like, KKK.
Yes. Yes, that was a very funny scene.
It's just, like, it was hilarious all around. First, with just, like, them arguing over whether to wear masks or not, and how shitty their masks are.
Right.
And that was hilarious.
The best moment, I think that you're going to talk about this, the best moment is there is a guy who leaves, not because of any moral outrage as to what they're doing, but because the other people directly insulted his wife who had made the shitty masks that they're trying to wear. And that's why he leaves and never comes back. Which is the most indicative fucking shit about white people. Like,
I love that.
It's such a perfect scene for that.
And then also it's just really satisfying to watch them just get fucking blown up and then shot at as they're running away.
Oh yeah, that was great. It was a great bait and switch. They do a really good job of like they give a hint of what Django and Schultz's plan is, because there's like a shot where they're taking something out. They're taking money out of like the tooth, and then they're putting something in, but it's hard to tell what it is exactly because it's like a dark shot. So they give you a hint of what their plan is, but it's still really good at like kind of keeping you on your toes.
We should explain by taking something out of the tooth, we mean that there's like this...
Well, Dr. King Schultz used to be a dentist. And he still has his cart from when he was like a roving dentist. And it has this big like, you know, like paper mache or tooth or whatever kind of on the top of his cart.
It's on like a spring and it goes back and forth. And it's hypnotizing to look at.
Yes.
And that's where they put in the explosives.
Yeah. And then they shoot it from afar, and there's a huge explosion.
Quality stuff.
It's great stuff. Do you just want to jump into the remakes? There's really not much else to talk about.
Yeah, well, let's see. Anything else? Something I will say is Hilda didn't really do much.
She didn't have the opportunity to do much. She wasn't in a lot of scenes in general. She's like maybe 5 scenes total in the movie, which is a bit of a shame. But the scenes that she's in, she does a great job.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's fantastic. It's just like we hear about her running away with Django.
She runs away again.
Off screen she runs away, but she is captured. And then after that, she's manhandled, she's held at gunpoint, she's locked in a room, and then she waits outside on a horse while Django fucks shit up. Yeah.
She doesn't do a lot. I will say that this reminds me of a moment. So probably the best scene in the movie is... Well, there's like a 2-part negotiation with Candy. Is like this long con thing that Django and Schultz have with Candy, who they're pretending to buy a normal slave for some stuff, but they're actually here for Hilda, and they're kind of like burying the hatchet on this, putting up this huge amount of money for this one person, but it's like, oh, $300 for this other person kind of thing. But the house slave kind of like who's like loyal to Candy, what's his name? He's played by Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson does an amazing job.
I don't remember what his name was.
It's like Steve or something.
In my mind, it might have been Steven actually.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was just referring to him as like Uncle Tom.
Well, I mean that's what his character is. So he kind of sniffs out this plan. He realizes that there's a prior relationship between Django and Hilda, and then that goes into like the second part of the negotiation where Candy like becomes very menacing and does this very like disturbing. He like cracks open the skull of the servant that used to live at his house and like does this like whole bullshit pseudoscience thing about it, and that transitions into like holding them at gunpoint, and then there's a moment where Leonardo DiCaprio, he slams his hand down on the table and he smashes a glass. He actually smashes a real glass and his hand is cut up. His hand is actually cut the fuck up in that scene. And like full thing. You can see him picking glass out of his wound over the course of the scene. And then is bandaged up because he did fuck his hand up, but he didn't break character, which is like, holy shit. And like, that is cool. And then like a minute later in the scene, Hildy is in there, and then he takes his actually blood-covered hand and wipes it on her face. And I'm like, okay, I get it. it's what that character would do. But oh my god, that actor, I feel so bad for her. Holy shit, what? You hear about shit like Quentin Tarantino directly doing horrible shit on set, but I think this is like an environment that he fosters in other actors.
Absolutely. I did not realize that was actually little Leo's fucking blood.
Yeah, it makes that scene a lot more uncomfortable and not in the way you want.
No. Oh, God, that's fucking unsanitary.
It wasn't part of the plan at all. I totally get it, because that was, of course, Leo's not supposed to actually smash his hand. But, like, Leo, dude, you got 2 hands.
If I was Hildy's actor, as soon as, someone yelled cut, I'd punch him.
I mean, we don't know what happened behind the scenes on that.
I'm just saying. He deserves, someone squeeze his fucking bloody hand. He deserves that. Like, what the fuck,
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, normally Leonardo DiCaprio's a good guy. He's a nice guy to be around.
Sometimes you just get swept up.
Well, this is why I say Quentin Tarantino kind of fosters this environment, because I've heard, because Quentin Tarantino is not an amazing person,
right?
And I've heard some of the shit that he's personally done, because he's choked a woman on set.
I vaguely remember something
that
about
was like
that.
Kill Bill, if I remember correctly. So it's like if that's like the kind of shit that he does purposefully, like there's like. The line of what's too much is not correct in the environments in which he's in. And that's a problem. And it causes shit like this. So, it's a lot. I kind of got sidetracked.
Great movie. Tarantino needs help.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about before you jumped into remakes?
There is one thing. And this is sort of a criticism for all Westerns, most Westerns, I should say. They always, have a lot of white people and black slaves, but, they hardly ever show the fact that there were other races in the Wild, Wild West.
Right. There were a lot of Mexican cowboys. Cowboy, the term comes from Mexico.
That's from us, baby.
Yeah.
Or
at least the original term that turned into cowboy. It's a whole thing.
And I believe, we have the word buckaroo because of vaqueros.
I think so.
Yeah. And, there were, a lot of Asian people. I think Chinese. I want to say also Vietnamese, but don't quote me on that one.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. But I definitely know Chinese, because, even in old media from, either, depicting that time or near that time, there's a lot of Chinese slurs thrown around.
Ooh, buddy, there are. And
not in this movie, thankfully.
Right. Well, I mean, there are no Asians for those slurs to be thrown at.
Right. So, its own problem, but, hey, I'll take it, over, Chinese slurs being thrown around. It's a whole thing. Okay. That's definitely true. That's really important. I have a feeling that's going to be a part of your remake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely, because, I'm pale as shit, but Fox is, has a lot of deep connections to Mexico, his family in Mexico.
I am Mexican-American.
Right, you are also pale, though, which is why
Yes, I am incredibly pale.
But also Mexican-American.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I guess let's just jump right into it. Do you want to go first, or should I?
It's up to you, baby.
I think I'll go with mine, because my remake stuff's not going to be that long.
Okay.
There's not going to be that many changes. A lot of the changes are going to focus around one really important thing, which is this movie is 3 fucking hours long.
It is. God,
and I said 5 times in this podcast that I had nothing to talk about. And it's 3 hours long. That's a fucking problem, Quentin. Quentin, can you hear me? That's a problem. Jesus Christ.
Quentin only here speaks.
Oh, yeah. He has his, foot, his, head on the ground, listening for, foot stomps in the distance.
Hold on, that really got me. Holy fuck. It's just the image in my mind.
Just, his, body's, full prone on the ground, just, head, turned, his ear to the ground. He's just like dreamy-eyed.
Oh, I think someone's taken off their shoes.
Okay, we need to stop with the feet
It's fine.
jokes.
I think that was so low that it didn't even pick up on the mic.
I don't know, but we need to stop with the feet jokes because it's too much. It's too much. This is about Django Unchained. We should not be talking about feet.
This is just a toe too much. Go on.
Dear Lord. So the movie's almost 3 hours. It's a problem. So we're gonna cut like many scenes from this movie. We can cut a solid 30 minutes out of the movie just on its own, and I would be happy with that. You know what I mean? Like,
fair.
You could cut out a lot of the like weird interim part where they talk about like they spend a year, like they spend the winter doing this stuff. There's like a weird transition period of all this stuff about scenes that don't really need to be there or make sense. Because like with the trap for the KKK, we know that Schultz is teaching Django how to shoot and that Django is a natural. And then later on, he's really good at shooting. Those you don't need you don't need a third part of that. Like those are two things, and they work, and you can just have those. So you can just take out the entire middle part of that, and then just have like a throwaway line of like, or like maybe like before and after of like, we need to wait through the winter. We won't be able to properly do this deal until it's springtime, and then in the meantime, I'll train you.
Or just have like a quick montage. That's all you need.
5 minutes, not 20 minutes. You know, like it's fine. So that's a big thing. That's a big thing I would change. We just cut the fat. Cut the fat. Get that shit down to at least 2.5 hours. Hopefully less, because dear Lord.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. It was very long. Yeah,
it's a problem because it feels exhausting to watch, and that shouldn't be true for something that's this fun.
And I mean, it doesn't help that like it's already such a heavy movie with a lot of
right,
like gore and violence and slavery. So,
right. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to, though, you would be cutting out some really good scenes. You could start the movie with Django already with Schultz in training. Like, having the bit where Django gets bought and then, like, Schultz explaining what they're doing. You don't necessarily need that. A lot of that information is reestablished later on in the movie anyways. Yeah. You don't really need it. I think the only thing that you would need, like, would be the one scene with Django's first bounty, because that becomes a plot relevant then later. But if you started there, you get a lot of the same info. Like, and you're missing out on some cool scenes, but the movie's also not 3 hours, so
fair.
Take it or leave it.
So many movies are just so very long.
Yeah.
Which we've mentioned before.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Batman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're not going to talk about that right now. So another big thing that I would change, I would give Hildy a lot more agency in this. Primarily, I want Hildy to come up with the larger plan to free herself. I want, like, because, like, Schultz and Django, they're going to come in and they'll get to Candyland by their own ingenuity, but it's not going to be enough. Like, when they get there, when they talk to Hildy, there's going to be something in the way that's like, Hildy's like, this plan isn't going to work. It's not going to get me out. They're not going to sell me, like, for XYZ reason. There's plenty of reasons in the thing, like, just kind of like her place in the house.
I mean, it just makes sense because, like, he would, Candy was so excited about Hildy, so, like,
right.
Why would he be so willing to sell her?
Right. And like, with the focus on it, like, I would restructure how, like, the negotiations worked a bit. But I want to give Hildy more agency. I want her to come up with the plan on how to get her free. And I want it to be a smart plan. I want it to be a smarter plan than what the guys would come up with. Because the guys don't come up with a really smart plan. It's a very simple plan. It's, hey, we got a lot of cash. let's give you a bunch of it and then a little bit extra for the person we actually want, which is not a great plan because if negotiations go sour, then you don't get anything you want. And with a situation like this, negotiations are gonna go sour. In fact, that's literally what happens. Like, you know, it's not gonna work. They would need a better plan. I would want Hildy to be the arbiter of that plan. And then that kind of like showcases agency for her that's like not tied to firearms proficiency, you know, to show that she has a presence and a strength even though she doesn't know how to fight.
Right.
Beyond that, I don't like the assertion by the movie that Schultz and Django are pretty much the only two people kind of fighting against slave owners in this time. Like, it wouldn't be a lot of people.
Right.
But I would like there to be others that are kind of like them.
There was, like, the one guy in the cabin when they were taking the bounties. This seemed pretty cool. But other than that, like, you really don't see...
Well, even that he's not necessarily, like, against slave owners. He just handles the bounties. Like, he assigns them and he receives them. And so he knows them and he's friends with them because they do business together. But I would go it a step further. I want to see other bounty hunters who are friends with Django and Schultz. You know, I want to see, and like this would be a great way to like implement like Hispanic bounty hunters, or you know, and maybe an Asian bounty hunter, and like these people who like they have to go to these lengths because like they don't have really any other opportunities in this world. They're barely able to be free men. Like everybody's turning them away from classic jobs. So I guess I'll kill people for money. That's the only option I have left. And because of that, there's a lot of resentment for these systems that are in place. And I would love to like just have one or two scenes where they just kind of hang out. It doesn't have to be like they join a big shootout. It doesn't have to be that they matter to the overall story. I just want them in the world. I want it in the world and known that they're in the world.
That would be great to explore, even just a little bit, just to see.
And it also like removes it because like with Django and Schultz like really only having the one ally of the cabin, it feels like the entire world is against them, and which that kind of makes sense with the situation that they're in. But like that's a very like it's a very desolating vibe. Like, and you just like get a little bit more like, no, there's other minorities in this time period who feel like you do and want to work with you. And I feel like that's a great thing. Kind of like let's get like all these races together and like get them all working on the same side. You know what I mean?
Hell, and it would be nice just for Django to be able to see other free black people.
Yeah.
Like that would be so powerful. Like it could put it in his head. Okay, I can be this too. I can have a life with my wife outside of slavery.
Right. Like it's not this like, chosen one, like, because that's also like a part of the movie of like the 1 in 10,000 thing. Like, it's like there's no one else like Django.
Right. I really wish the movie or like Django had gone out of his way to say like, it's not just 1 in 10,000 or something.
Right.
There's a lot more of us.
And I hate that line specifically because Django does not earn his freedom on his own. He is set free by a white man.
Yeah. So
it's like the 1 in 10,000 is like it only works at the whims of white people. Like that's like it's such like it's unintentional, but it's such a bad like refocus of the idea, and it's just like no, that's not how this should work. Like let's have a couple people. It doesn't have to be everybody. Of course, Django's an exception because he's fucking amazing at what he does, but that doesn't mean there isn't other people like him. There should be other people like him because there's people like everybody everywhere.
It's like the thing is he got the opportunity where others did not. Right. That's how he was able to be exceptional.
Right.
And I think, that would have been like a really great moment for Django to like just go off on this spiel about that. Like,
right.
I'm not exceptional. There are so many more like me.
Or like something to kind of like if we were going to go fully on this idea, maybe because like Django and Schultz do help kind of like free some other slaves throughout the movie every so often. I would love for one of them to come back up and also be a bounty hunter. You know?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And like maybe he's not as good as Django, but he's not bad, and like he does bounty hunter stuff. Like, I would love to see that. That would be a great way to turn that back. Like, when you give more opportunities, you get more exceptional people.
It's like the other slaves that Django was with when he was bought by Schultz, they could have come back up at some point to show, like, hey, now they're living free. Look at this.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been great. Like, it's such a missed opportunity, and it feeds into... And it's purposely discarded to feed into a narrative that ultimately I don't think is a good idea to have.
Absolutely.
So that would be... So that's ultimately where my kind of like remakes focus. Trim the fat, give Hildy more agency, and show other people in similar positions to Django.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like the directions that you're going. Very intellectual and, character driven and very important.
Right. All right, so why don't you go ahead and yours?
Me, on the other hand. So I do love me a good Western. I also love serials. So what I'm doing, where Zoe here is wanting to make this, shorter, more concise. No, I want something that when you put it all together, you could spend 5+ hours watching everything. Basically, I want a serial. Like an old serial of Django. And I want it to be more of an abstract art house style.
You're going so hard on like remake ideas than I thought that we were ever gonna do. Like, this is already so wild. Like, we don't discuss this shit. Like, what the fuck?
I like keeping surprises.
Yeah, apparently.
So yeah, I want to take inspiration from a lot of different things. Blaxploitation, art house, Italian westerns specifically. Italian westerns are a different thing. We don't have the time to go over it. Okay. One day I'll force you to. But also, the good old American westerns, with a little more color, if you will. Thank you. I wanted to have like an exploration of Django growing into this bounty hunter trying to find his wife. Because clear records, maybe they weren't always kept, and, they didn't care about slaves. So maybe they changed Hilda's name when she sold, so he's not even sure which one she is. He has to really work to try to find her. And so Django is searching for her. King helps. Maybe sometimes they part ways for a bit. And Django, he meets others, like free black people or Chinese immigrants or Mexicans who are now Americans, solely because Mexican land was stolen by white people. He grows a community. Like, I really want to explore that. Meanwhile, we get to see Hildy fucking shit up on her own. Okay, I want her to have a lot more to do. Let's see her trying to get away, maybe succeeding in getting away, only to get herself in some sort of other trouble. So we have the two different stories trying to get to each other. And maybe Django and Hilda keep missing each other, like just even by a hair, until finally their paths cross and we finally get to see them embrace.
I get why that's the idea that you had. That is probably one of the tropes in fiction I hate the most.
Really? The just barely missed each other?
Yeah, like consistently. If it's just like a serial, like if it's like just, a couple of things, then it's okay. But like this is like when it's like a trope in like long running fiction. Mm-hmm. Oh God.
Well, yeah, I'd only want it like for them to barely miss each other, like just a few times. Like maybe Django gets to a plantation that she was at, but like maybe a week prior she actually managed to run off. Or maybe she was like sold off or something. And so he's like, well, fuck. But there's still some white people there he can kill. It's fine.
Right.
So I mentioned, the styles I want for this movie, all the different inspirations. I want to really show off a modern Western that pays homage to what came before. And God, I love me a trippy-ass art house movie. I really do. So I want...
Fair. What exactly do you mean by modern Western?
Okay, so basically an upgrade to the Western, but with more of a... not true grit, sort of. Because that, technically is a remake of an old Western into modern Western.
Okay, so I'm still not clear, because you haven't actually explained what you mean by modern Western. You just said a bunch of words. Now, let's be clear. You mean Western time period, Western tropes, but modern filmmaking.
Yes.
Okay, because the other interpretation of that is Western tropes in a modern setting.
Well, that would also be interesting. That would be a whole different...
But I think that wouldn't fit this movie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it would be too far away from what the movie is talking about to do that, so...
that would be Django Unchained in space. Which also, that's the sequel series.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. So yeah, like I said, multiple parts. Just embrace it. You're going to make a long-ass thing, make a long-ass thing. And bring back serials, because serials are so good. We don't really have...
We don't have serials as you think of them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are miniseries, which is the same vibe.
It's a similar vibe, and I do appreciate those. But, just smaller serials. And I think that would be perfect for this day and age. Maybe just something that's 12 minutes long, ends on a cliffhanger. Next week, you get another 12 minutes long. And that works so good with, the age of YouTube and TikTok and, what was that one? Quibi?
What the fuck?
Quibi. It didn't even last a year, and...
Right, so because it doesn't exist anymore, why did you bring it up?
I don't
know!
When
there are things that do exist, you could have said Netflix. You said YouTube, TikTok, and fucking Quibi.
Okay, but Netflix...
Out of the fucking hundreds of streaming and video services, you said Quibi.
Quibi? I mean, okay, so Netflix doesn't
It goes
have,
on Yahoo Screens. Do you remember that one?
Oh, shit. Not until this moment.
The Community season was on that. And then it died.
Was it?
Yeah. Community season was one of the first things on it, and it almost immediately died.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was the 6th season of Community, and then just fell apart.
Is that the season no one likes?
No, the season no one likes is I think season 3, because that was a different director.
Oh.
They fired what's his face.
Oh.
He did, because he does Rick and Morty. Dan Harmon.
Okay.
They fired Dan Harmon and then replaced him with a shitty guy, and then everybody hated the show so much. They were like, hey, why don't you come back? And then he came back and he did 2 more seasons, and then they canceled the show. And then about a couple years later, Yahoo Screens picked it up, and then Yahoo Screens disintegrated before our eyes.
That's amazing. I didn't know any of that because I have never watched Community.
I haven't either, but I saw a video talking about it, and it was fascinating.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Quibi was specifically made so you could just have little bite-sized things, 3-4 minutes. There were apparently a few good series on there. Most were shit, though. From what I've heard. So maybe that isn't the best.
Yeah.
Just for a lot of different reasons.
Also, that doesn't really fit with because you said, the serials would be, 12 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So it also doesn't fit with the idea you presented. But I've seen Netflix shows that have been around 12 minutes. It's not common, but I've seen it.
Okay. What I'm saying is, in this day and age...
Netflix would be more likely to do that, too.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. They would. Anyway, long story short, Rip Quibby? Was that the point?
I don't know what your fucking point was.
Do I ever have one? I don't know.
You try.
I do. So basically, that's it. That's what I have planned for a remake. And I'm sure plenty of people are surprised nothing queer was mentioned. But the joke is on you, because cowboys were frequently secretly queer for each other, and Django's gonna run into them.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a lot of queer cowboys.
I mean, there's a reason why Brokeback Mountain was a gay movie. Because it was a cowboy movie. And then it's a modern cowboy movie. And the only thing that survived with the cowboys was that they're fucking gay.
Yeah?
That's really it. Which is makes
and
it
fashion.
which makes it so fucking funny that it's like cowboys became this like this pillar of masculinity. And like, you know, what straight guys like always try to like, it's like one of those like that, and like the International Man of Mystery, and what's another one?
Of hypermasculine.
Yeah, like the ones that like these like the fucking people who make Sigma male memes about. There's a third. I guess bodybuilder. Or something to that effect.
Maybe.
But like, it's so fascinating that cowboys became this like, you know, hyper masculine, like straight guy thing when it was absolutely not that.
Right. I mean, a lot of poor people and immigrants and Mexican Americans were cowboys, and it wasn't. It was looked down upon, like it was blue collar work. It was work for the lower class.
Right.
But you know, a big part of that is actually westerns. They sort of took this image of a macho guy like John Wayne. You know, made him white and straight and tough.
Which is interesting because, like, I'd have to look this up, but like, Western movies were initially based off of samurai movies, right? Japanese samurai movies?
I think there may be something to that. There's at least some inspiration taken. I wouldn't be surprised.
I know that there were, because like Kurosawa films is like the ones people talk about. Like, those inspired like the classic westerns. But like, you're coming from a completely different era and source. Like, you know, the culture of the samurai is so much different than the culture of the cowboy.
Right.
But like, they brought over all that stuff, and it just completely changed the trajectory of the cowboy in a bunch of people's minds. And then it stuck that way throughout history, because like, that was the main record we had of those ideas.
I mean, I believe that was done purposefully. Like, they wanted to sort of hyper-masculinize cowboys.
Maybe. I don't know if it was necessarily, like, intentional. I feel like it may have been a coalescing of a couple different separate things. Like, it could have been, like... I mean, there's the obvious thing of just, like, a director really likes another director's work, you know, takes just a lot of inherent inspiration, but there's also, like... There's a narrative thing of, like, a lone guy against, you know, hordes of enemies, and like, can he survive, and like, and that was always very like a masculine thing in the old samurai movies, just of like how that culture was, and that was definitely kind of taken over. But I think that was mostly just because it was a combo of like, it's an interesting narrative idea, and also white people think it's cool when they see white people on screen do cool things. Like, it's that, and then that just kind of, enough people do that, and it snowballs, and it becomes this bigger cultural thing.
And it's so funny because, like, the majority of cowboys were not that. They were not bounty hunters. They were just trying to make a living.
They're farmhands, basically.
They go from farm to farm, pasture to pasture, ranch, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, that's the one.
Ranch to ranch. Words have meaning.
Yeah, they help out, they do what they can, and then they move on. And, because
And fuck each other.
And they fuck each other. Because you can't afford, like, a stable house on that kind of work. So you have to travel. You just have to keep going.
And the Wild West, it was a rugged landscape. It was very hard to survive.
So I think I do like your ideas for the remake. I do like how you're definitely giving Hildy more things to do. That's a big thing. That's
I
what
want
I
to see
talked
her
about
fuck
as
shit
well.
up.
It's great. It's important. I think it's really important to have that. And then kind of like respecting that, like with that serial idea, you do have that time to like get into the cowboy identity and like these other things and have Django interact with, Mexican Americans and,
Other immigrants.
other immigrants and freed black slaves and like all this other stuff. You give the opportunities there. That option, like going serial, definitely fits the vibe, and it also gives you the room to like explore a lot of these ideas. I fully accept that my remake is like there's probably more ideas in there than there are in the 3-hour Quentin Tarantino one. If I want to cut the fat, I don't think I can include all of them. Like I there are some though I would definitely need to keep in there, and I feel like I could work them in without really kind of extending the movie at all. But like you definitely have an advantage on like allowing it to be that much longer, by having that kind of serial format. And I do think that is a good idea in this aspect.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I do love serials. It is a little bit of media at a time. You can spread it out. Or, binge watch. This is
Right.
the era of binge watching. What the hell else are you going to do with your day?
And when you give it another decade, and then you won't need to worry about making it a serial because we'll have 5-hour long movies, which will be a horror landscape, and I will hate it.
That really hurts me to think about.
We're inching there already. There are already movies that are over 3 hours long.
If you were going to make a movie that is 2+ hours, fucking put in an intermission, you goddamn cowards.
Absolutely. That's, it's the least you could fucking do. And like, I watched a movie that was like 90 minutes. It was like the one movie that was 90 minutes. This was Venom 2. And like, it's the one movie that was like 90 minutes that I've seen in like the last like 4 years. And like, oh my God, it was such a breath of fresh air. Like, it was so snappy. It was like, there was such like, it didn't hold on to fucking anything it didn't need to. There were great transitions. I was so happy that it was 90 minutes and it did it so well. All these fucking movies are like 2.5 hours. I just can't deal with it. And Quentin Tarantino, you're the one. Django Unchained came out like 2010. When did Django Unchained come out? 2012. It came out in 2012. This was like the vanguard of this shit. Fucking Quentin Tarantino, you piece of shit. This is your fault, and I'm blaming you personally.
He likes his movies how he likes his feet.
Very long.
We're really towing the line between good comedy here, huh?
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Did you like that?
It took me a second. No. I didn't like it.
Ah, good.
Do you have anything else to talk about Django Unchained?
No, I think really that's all my thoughts.
Yeah, that's mine too. I mean, as we said at the top of this, there's really not a lot to talk about with this movie. And even with our remakes, we're still kind of like honoring that idea of like this isn't like the most dense movie, and a lot of it is just like
it's more character driven.
It's more character driven. There's just a lot of violence, just a lot of shooting people.
Scene to scene, not a real big overarching.
Yeah, there's a lot of shooting people, a lot of blood, a lot of gunshots, a lot of screaming, a lot of cursing, a lot of slurs. It's the nature of the movie, baby.
Yeah, lots of people die.
Lots of people.
Sometimes in front of their own kids.
Yeah, well, once. At least the one time that it's explicit.
Yeah, at least once.
I don't remember Unless that sheriff had a kid in town. I don't think it was explicitly said any other time.
No.
Because every other time there wasn't like a kid in the scene. You know, there was just kind of like a group of adults.
Yeah, I don't think there were like many children at all, except for that one kid who saw his dad die.
Yeah, because why would you put the children in the scene? There's no use for the children. The only use for the child in that scene is to like kind of show where Schultz's morality is, you know, and like what he is ready to do and what Django's becoming ready to do, and like it's the whole point of that. So, but yeah, that's all we have on Django Unchained. I feel like I should kind of wrap this around to be like, our remakes on this, like, you shouldn't take any of our remakes seriously, but I think this one you should take the least seriously of all of them, because again, this isn't our thing. Like, this is not our story. This is a black story. This is a, you know, very, very explicit black story, and so don't worry about it. We had ideas that we thought could help. If you like them, cool. If you don't, we're not experts on this. We're not claiming to be. But if you do enjoy any of these ideas and you want to go out and you want to remake the movie or you want to do something similar, just let us know. You know, just give us a shout. I think we would really enjoy seeing some of this stuff. Especially, I think you would definitely enjoy watching that serial.
I would die for a serial like that. Yes.
So. Yeah, make Django see gay cowboys and make him watch the gay cowboys kiss.
Maybe in space.
You can do also space. It's another option. It's on the table. You don't have to pick it up, but you can.
It's there. It's staring at you. It's winking at you.
So that's all we got for you. I hope you all really enjoyed. I hope you... I hope go out and watch Django Unchained, you know, torrent it or get it on DVD or whatever the fuck. And I hope you all have fun time with it.
And hey, you know, while you're there, maybe watch some other Quentin Tarantino movies like Foot, Revenge of the Feet, Sexy Feet at Nighttime.
Okay, so that joke wasn't funny.
It wasn't.
We have reached the point where foot humor is no longer funny.
No, not foot humor itself. Let's not go that far.
That's entirely what how else could you describe that? You were literally just saying the word feet over and over.
I did not stick the landing. I was unsteady on my feet. It happened.
Fuck off. We're done. We're done now.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great night.
I will.